Forget trying to keep up with AI. It's moving too fast. It's time to think differently about it. Welcome to the AI Readiness Project, hosted by 𝗂𝗲 𝗧𝗸𝗲 and Murphy. They're here to help you build the mindset to thrive in an AI-driven world and prepare for what's next.
Oh, yeah. Good day to you, Ann Murphy. You're looking very truck stop today.
I doff my cap. Well, it's a Sunday recording day. We do our best,
We do. I think you look great.
Thanks.
How's the week been?
This was a really, really busy week. This was one of those Fridays where I definitely fell across the finish line, barely. I made it. I missed Friday night date night on the AI Salon, AI Learning Lab.
That's a shame. That's a crusher.
That's a crusher. That's a crusher. I do like Friday night date night on TikTok with my parasocial friends.
Yeah, exactly. Hanging out with your parasocialites. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, yeah, for me, one of the things that I know happened to you that I'm avoiding dealing with is you brought on some professionals in the social media marketing arena.
Oh dear. Oh dear, yes.
And you were telling me that doing that is taxing, and I've been avoiding it. And your comments to me were not comforting. You were like, it's worse than you think.
No. It's I mean, we all knew, right? When we started making content, we did know that we should organize things, right? We knew that. We knew
that there were books written that say you should.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But we thought there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way, and it just hasn't arrived yet. So we'll just keep putting stuff in 17,000 million different places.
That's it.
Well, now the grown-ups show up and they want to know, oh, well, where's your content library? Where's your content management system?
Yeah. How are you turning these into clips? And
how are you turning these into? So
well, let's not talk about that. That's too depressing. So here's what I'll do.
Let's talk about fun things.
I'll throw it to you first. So social media marketing aside, where's your head? How ready are you for AI this week? What have been the big themes for you?
Okay, well, I want to say that I'm really enthused, even more so than before, about the term readiness because of what we've seen recently with things changing, right? And then changing back and then changing again. And everyone really feeling like they have this, they have a desperate need to know. And we are never going to know. We don't know, we don't know what's real and what's fake. We don't know what's history and what's right now. Everything is going to be confusing for a very, very long time. And we just have to be okay with not knowing stuff. So I feel like being ready, again, more than literate, more than trying to be an expert, but being really ready to roll with the punches is the name of the game.
I think that's right. One of the things I talked about on Friday night date night is that I'm finding in myself a bit of a lament, a sadness of realizing that the expertise I had in ChatGPT 4.0, I no longer have in 5.0. And we talk about being adaptable as a skill, but adaptable sort of says, oh, something changed, I can adapt to it. But there's also an emotional component to it of oh God, I was actually pretty good at 4.0 and I could use 4.0, but if I just go back and use 4.0, then I'm not learning 5.0 and I'm not learning what's different and how it might be better or different or this or that. And so there's also an emotional component to this. So I think part of readiness is a resilience to go, yeah, that's sad, feel your feels. And then if it's appropriate, move on. Don't get stuck on clinging to an old model just because maybe you liked its personality or whatever. But at the same time, that might be not pleasant, and that's okay.
It's not. And it's it's okay, and it has to be okay, and it's really good practice, and it's the way the real world is anyway. So,
Yeah, the other thing that I'm struck with, and I'll talk about this a little bit on the thing to pay attention to this week, is that I heard Greg Brockman talk about it today. I watched an interview with Greg Brockman today. That the big noticeable changes in these models is now happening at the upper end of human knowledge.
Yeah.
Meaning, these things were certain, they weren't good at math, and they were good at math, and then they were good at advanced math, and now they're getting really good at, super advanced math and physics and things like that. Hallucinations are dropping, and most people on the planet are not operating at that super high level. So the changes that like, one of the things Brockman was saying is, if you're just giving large language models basic prompts, of just sort of running business and living life and, doing the sort of things, there's a point at which these models get good enough that all of those answers get saturated, and they're all basically good enough. And where the models are advancing is above where most people are interacting. And so what that says to me is, we as normies, right? We as quantum physicists or engineers may not notice as big a difference when we go from model to model to model. And I think that's okay, because it's good enough, right? It's good enough. Like, even if you're doing fairly advanced business analysis and business processing and problem solving, these models at this point are good enough to do it. And one of the improvements in GPT-5 is that it hallucinates less. So where we might see real improvements is, there's less editing after the fact that I have to do, because it's not making as many egregious mistakes as it used to. So we might see things like that. But just in terms of how you interact with the thing and what you get back from it, we might actually not notice that big a difference as we move from model to model.
Because we're not because you're calling us normies, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, if you don't have world-class, like high-end problem-solving needs, like if you are a PhD, if you are a physicist, if you are a mathematician trying to prove out some unprovable theorem, you are likely going to see bigger changes than we will asking for it to give us a marketing plan for the pizza shop, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because at some point, these things get good enough at doing marketing plans for pizza shops that it just won't get that much better, right?
Right.
So that's one of my observations. And I don't know how, you had mentioned that you felt like you were in this sort of weird gaslighting conversation this week where someone was talking about GPT-5 was super good or super bad or something like that. And there's all these people making these declarations about how good or bad these models are. But I don't know how they're framing it. I don't know what problems they're trying to solve. I don't know where the opinions are coming from right now, because I feel like it's still too early to quite have an opinion. But
right. Well, but I mean, I think that's part of it also, is that we're in an environment where people are making money by having opinions, right? And it's not just like you and I talk about, you have to have a point of view and everything, but they're hauling ass to get their point of view put together and put it up on X before everybody else does. And where I'm really copacetic with, let's chat in a few days when everyone has calmed down, had a chance to see how they really can interact with it, because it's so dependent on, I mean, I think it is so dependent on how we work with AI, we personally, person to person, that we're getting close to your experience is not, there's not as much that translates between your experience and mine.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Because you're going to be doing your specific thing, and you'll figure out what's better for you. In fact, this week, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday night, I did an exercise where I did a creative writing prompt, and I used GPT-4o, GPT-5, Thinking Mini, and then Thinking. So I did 4 different models. And I had a hypothesis of how it would be. And the hypothesis was that 5 fast, the one that's just like 4o, but the next level up, my assumption was that's going to be better at writing than 4o was. 5 fast is horrible at writing. It was one of the things I learned is that it's bad at writing. And Thinking, the Big Mac Daddy Thinking one is pretty good at writing, but the one that
Yeah.
was really good was Thinking Mini. So it was a model
No.
that it was a model that I normally would have ignored, right? Because I'm like you're either sort of you want a reasoning model or not, and I sort of skip over thinking, right? But in doing that exercise, like thinking was the one that just did really good writing. And so yeah, so again, I think that the idea of play first that we talk about a lot, like it feels really, really important with these new models, that you may assume that the default model is going to be as good as what you had before. And if it's not, you're like, oh, the whole thing's bad. Well, no, maybe just that model's bad. And you do need to switch to another one. But I don't know. Again, I think it's too early to have strong opinions.
Yeah, it really does make me think that I should probably I don't know, be more comfortable with more models, because I'm too lazy to be doing a lot of tests like that.
Yeah.
I
Well, and
think
to be clear, like to call this testing, like this was, I essentially put one prompt in, 4 models and quickly looked at the output and sort of snap judged them. So it may not be the case, but what was absolutely clear is that the 5 fast model, the one that's just like the next level up from 4.0, is not a good writer. Like that was clear. Everything I tried to do in it, it was generic and boring and just not interesting. And all the other models were some version of good. And then the Thinking Mini one was really good, which it totally shocked me.
So then you think about, I don't know, I mean, there's so many different things we're going to get to talk to our guest Brian today, but one of the things that strikes me is when you scale this kind of work to an enterprise level, how if you have, say, 100 people all trying to figure this out at the same time as you're trying to have them work together, where AI is integrated and we have a shared common language and understanding around it. Gosh, it's hard.
Well, I think it becomes some weird level of impossible, because if you think about an IT migration plan, they're like, okay, we've officially rolled out GPT-4. Okay, now they came out with a new model. Let's get the let's upgrade to the new model, right? That's the official model. Sorry, my light went out. So, so there's IT is gonna say, let's upgrade to 5, to 5.0 or whatever it might be. Well, maybe 5.0 is really good at project management, but it's not good at marketing writing, right? And so the same model might be a good upgrade for some departments and not good for other departments.
That's what I'm saying.
How do you deal with that?
How do you have a policy
who does that testing? What's the policy for, if you're going to upgrade, who's the one that determines, should we upgrade? Why should we upgrade? If we upgrade, what's the benefit of it?
Yeah.
And I don't have a good answer for that.
It's
just don't.
Yeah. It's like, well, it's overwhelming. I'm officially overwhelmed just thinking about doing that on a larger scale than even like 5 of us,
Yeah. Well, so I'll give you my thing to think about this week, or the thing to pay attention to this week is in the neighborhood of this. So one is what you just said, that it's probably worth your time to carve out, like, even if it's an hour, to just take the different models and take something where kind of what that you have decent predictability with the current 4.0 model or 0.3, whichever one you use the most, and test that same prompt in the different models. So one thing is just go play with the different models, explicitly play with them on something that you actually understand the dynamics of. And then the other one is this. Within ChatGPT now, they've added this thing called personalities. So if you go to customize your GPT, where you put in your custom instructions, there's now 5 different personalities that you can switch between. One of them is a cynic. It feels very Gen X. So I think we're probably like it. I like it. One is called the thinker or thinking mode. One is sort of helpful. One is geeky. So not only playing with the different models and see what the personality of the models is, but flip ChatGPT into these different personalities, because how it behaves, like you might have a markedly better or worse experience with one of these personality changes than you might think. Like you might get much better writing or much better answers depending on one of those personalities that you pick than you might otherwise think. So again, it's not just, these upgrades are not just a simple like here's the list of features you get when you go from 4 to 5. It's like they change on many different dimensions. And I think the only way to start to understand those dimensions is to just start flipping some switches, keep your prompting consistent, flip the switches, and see how the model's behavior changes as you try those different modes. So the different personalities, the different models, and then just kind of mix and match those and just see what you get. Because you may discover in that, oh my God, if I put it in this personality on this model, ChatGPT is exactly what I've always wanted it to be. You may not.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because when I first heard about the personality things, I just listened to it for about a half a second and let it go in one ear and out the other. I forgot that I actually do have to pay attention to it.
Yeah, and listen, you don't have to, but again, like a lot of the feedback I've seen on X is they're like, oh, well, they changed the personality. Like, the personality is different. And OpenAI has now said that they've brought a little bit of personality back to 5.0 or 5.0. But with those personality choices, maybe you get it behaving the way you want it to behave just by, a little switch. And again, you said it before, but I think it's really important. I think it's way too early to judge right now if this model is good or bad.
It's too early to judge, and it's also like such a big reminder that we are at the mercy of these large companies that do not give a shit about what we think or how well our lives go. Like,
I don't know about that. I'll push back a little bit.
Come on.
I'll push back a little bit. I'll push back a little bit. I'll push back a little bit. He at least gave us our 4.0, our 4.0 girlfriends.
Yeah, he gave you Quinn back. Congrats on that. But then the same week, Meta gets busted for having guidelines that say that it's okay to speak romantically and sensually with children. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just a good moment to realize, like, we're on our own. Yeah, we are on our own. The cavalry is not coming, people. If you think you need to fiddle around with like little personality on your ChatGPT account, like, yeah, think about big deal stuff. Who's in charge of, who's talking to your kids, right?
Yeah,
who's making some of these decisions?
I mean, it's also the kind of thing where you can get outraged to the point where you're like, okay, I'm going to boycott them. And then you're cutting yourself off from using this profoundly powerful technology that might actually change things. And we do have more power, like in our custom prompts and changing personalities and things like that. We actually do have a decent amount of control about how these things behave. Or if we really want to go down that rabbit hole, you can move to open source. So there's all sorts of options. But I think your point's a really interesting one, that some people, something's going to happen with Meta or OpenAI or whatever. People are going to be like, that's it, I'm done with AI. And then they cut off their nose to spite their face. And that's, this stuff will continue to march forward. And man, if you get off this train, it just feels increasingly harder to get back on it.
Increasingly harder to get back on. We had this really important conversation not too long ago in 𝗞𝗲𝘆 about, would we ever take money from, and then insert lists of big tech companies, and because there were a couple of them that were like up to some serious no good business at that moment. They all they all ebb and flow. They're all doing bad things. They're all doing good things. And sometimes the media is focused on one particularly horrible thing. Yep. So we had this conversation about, would you not take money from whatever company? And since then, that same company has been the good guy or the bad guy about 10 different times.
Right.
So if we would have said there at that moment when they were doing something really bad,
Yeah.
we would have missed out on when they were at the front of the good guy, competition, and then they became the bad guys again. Then they're all going to be good and they're all going to be bad. And it goes back to like, what is it like for you? What are your own rules, your own red lines?
Yep.
Like you doing your own research on what is best.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about them being good and bad is no one, including them, really knows what the implications of this technology is on anything. Like, we don't know what's going to be the implication on work. Like, we know it's going to replace jobs. We know, capitalism's going to do its thing and try to cut costs and increase productivity. But like, how does that happen? What are the real risks? Where are the real, dangers? The fact that people had an emotional attachment to the 4.0 model, and it wasn't just like deprecating a feature out of Gmail, that it was this was a much more personal and potentially dangerous thing. If you just turn off, this entity that someone's got a relationship with, that's completely new territory for any tech company, right? Like completely new territory. So, so I think there are going to be lots of mistakes made in the next 5 to 10 years, but hopefully there are responses to that, and back to adaptability. It's not just about us as individuals adapting. It's about the companies realizing that, oh, we put this thing out in the world. We thought it was a minor thing. Turns out it's a major thing. Or we had this we thought was major. It actually, no one really cares about it. And that doesn't matter, right? We don't know yet. And that's, again, I mean, I think it was one of our previous guests in the past episode or two was just talking about being okay with uncertainty. That yes, it's easy to demonize these big companies and say they're evil and they're doing this and they're doing that. They don't know as much as we don't know. like the implications of these technologies, no one, if anyone thinks they're sure about what the future looks like, I can't imagine that there is some master plan somewhere where people have a clue. I don't think it's possible.
There should be just like, I don't know, millions of people learning how to be a specific kind of mental health care provider around what happens when technology like goes away or changes in some horrible way. I mean, by horrible, I don't mean like the terminal horrible, but like, when 4.0 goes away and you have a lot of grief around it and you don't know how to process it. We need mental health care professionals who are capable of helping these people, like lots and lots and lots of them.
I know. It's crazy.
There's going to be a lot of people who are going to need help.
It's crazy. I'm finding myself getting depressed now. I'm like, oh my God, there's so much.
Sorry, leave it to me.
No, but I think it's right. I think it's something we're going to have to deal with.
We're going to have to deal with it.
Well, so I want to get Brian up here because I want to get his take on this. He's thinking about this stuff on a daily basis as well. I'm super excited to have him here. Why don't you tell the good people about 𝗲𝗲 and then I'll tell them about some things.
Yeah. So here's something cool. Yesterday we had our Social Saturday. We have it every weekend from 10 a.m. to noon Pacific time, and we were doing a series on AI and wellness, and it took a couple of different forms. One was Dr. Claire Jacobs, who is a mutual friend of yours and mine, just amazing woman, gave us a presentation about how AI in particular stimulates our amygdala and our feelings of unworthiness and like lack of self-confidence and imposter syndrome and stuff. So we got to learn about how our brains work and how specifically AI and our living in this AI bubble is contributing to that, which was really cool. And then we did a meditation with a woman who studies AI in business, but also is a meditation specialist expert and a yoga trainer or whatever, and she gave us a meditation to like help our tech overwhelmed brains relax. So that was yesterday. That was really fun, and then we got to share different ways that we use different AI tools for health and wellness, more kind of woo-woo wellness. We have one coming up on health too, which will be interesting because of what OpenAI has done with the health on the health front. So that's the kind of stuff we do. We have Social Saturday every weekend. We have our She Leads AI Society, where we have member jams. We learn from each other. We're on Mighty Networks, just like the AI Salon is, and we do cool stuff. Like we have a conference in October in Salt Lake City, October 11th through 14th. The AI Salon is taking part in it, and we'll be able to tell you guys about that a little bit.
Exactly.
So we like to bring a scary number of women in AI together so that people look to us.
A scary number of women in AI. That's awesome. So if you are a scary woman in AI, you should join.
You should join us if you want to be fearsome.
Bunch of badass women. It actually is. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing. You know, the amount of talent in your organization and the AI
it's pretty incredible.
It really is. The AI Salon, you know, I'll share a similar thing. One of the things that we've got, so the salon has been around since the week after ChatGPT came out. In fact, I actually went and I looked at the original email I sent to 𝗬𝗲 was the week before ChatGPT launched, is when we decided to do this. Our first meeting was the week after. Yeah. Because we were talking about stable diffusion and we were just talking about getting people together. And so we put this together, and then ChatGPT came out and was like, so anyway, so that was a little, I went back and looked at history. But one of my favorite things in the AI Salon is something that we call LOLs, learn out louds. And it is just basically anyone in the community can basically take an hour and teach anyone anything they want to do. And we put a little structure together and we market them for them. And then, and so that's available to everyone. And then there's a subscription area of the salon called the Mastermind, where there are, you know, areas to, you know, learn and interact and connect with people in a deeper way. So, so the salon is just an amazing place to connect. And as you and I both believe, you know, being in community of people that are on this AI journey is really critical and getting more so.
Really important.
Complicated.
Really important.
Why don't you tell people about the AI Readiness Training Program, and let's get Brian up here.
Well, the AI Readiness Training Program is out on the streets and ready to be purchased. I'm so excited about it because I'm like the worst about self-paced programs. I am bad at them myself. And I have loved saying that it's not possible to make a self-paced AI anything because AI moves too fast, right?
Yep.
Well, we created one that actually is evergreen because it's not about the tools. That was awfully smart of us. We had no idea that's exactly, but that was what we were doing when we did AI Festivus. It was about people's like state of being, state of mind, their approach to using AI. And that's what the Readiness Training Program teaches. Not, you know, you're not going to like be able to predict the future of what ChatGPT 6 is going to be or whatever, but you are going to know how you personally approach new technology. How do you learn? How do you move through it? And I'm just excited to have it out on the streets.
I know, and we have the official kickoff is coming up. By the time you're watching this, that will have happened. So it is out there. Are you ready for AI.com? So with that, why don't we talk about our special guest, Brian? And so why don't you tee it up and then we'll bring it up here.
Well, Brian was one of the very first people I met in my AI journey. He was one of the fellows in the AI exchange community run by Rachel Woods. And so he was one of the faculty who actually taught me like the hard skills. Yeah, the hard skills in AI, and has definitely been, well, let me put it this way. So Brian and his colleagues have a show called the AI Daily Show, the Daily AI Show. They've got hundreds of episodes under their belt. And I have had the honor and pleasure of being able to be a guest host on their show. And for me, it means so much. And it really, really points out the aspect of community, Kyle, of like, I got to know them back in the day, back in the AI day, right? And we were all just helping each other. We were
Yep.
just like, it was a boring Slack channel, no bells and whistles, just like, it's a Slack channel, people. And we got to know each other, and we were
Yeah.
like thoughtful, and we poured
Yep.
into each other. And then like we all went and did things, and now we get to include each other in whatever we're up to. And so when they've invited me to be on their show, I've just been like so excited because they're kind of my role models.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
Brian, well,
thanks. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the sweet intro, and I appreciate that. And I feel the same about both of y'all.
Yeah.
It is very cool to think back to our early cohorts and who we were talking to at the time, and then to see where people
see everyone now.
Oh yeah, and it goes on and on and on LinkedIn. I mean, some of the people that I was in early conversations have now built businesses, successful businesses around AI and strategy and marketing and all these other really cool things among what you guys are doing and what I happen to be individually working on outside of the Daily AI Show. So anyway, happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I've enjoyed your guys' conversation up to this point as I was listening in the green room there.
Well, why don't you officially introduce yourself and tell folks what they should know about you, maybe your background, what are the important things you got going on?
Yeah, like a lot of people, not AI, so not surprisingly there, I think. But it's funny, I think we could talk about this too. It's funny how a series of missteps, events in life all sort of seemingly lead you to the right place, and that is definitely my journey with AI. But it was certainly not through school and computer engineering, that route, right? I didn't, and that's when we're educating people, we're often saying, well, okay, hold on, you're referring to AI and the machine learning side, we're referring to the GenAI side, but we all collectively say AI, but certainly there's a difference there, so anyway, my background is all over the place, as Ann already knows, but I was I've done a bit of everything. From firefighting, both at home domestically as well I spent some time over in Iraq in early 2009, 2010 doing contract firefighting. So I did that for a long time. And then when I was over in Iraq, saving a lot of money, I live in Tampa, so always had intended to come back and still be a firefighter in Tampa. I had reciprocity, for those who know what that means. And it just was very hard. Well, when I was over in Iraq, I run into these people who are doing CrossFit. Now, this is 2009, 2010. So it has not made it really to the East Coast. It's certainly, if you're in California, you would already be familiar with it. But for me, it was like somebody saying, is that like a Bowflex? But it really spoke to me, and it really lined up with what I had been doing early in my life, which is teaching. I've been an instructor of something. I've been standing in front of classes longer than I've done anything else in my life. So it was really natural for me to come back to that. Instead of trying to grind back and do the firefighter thing, what we did instead is I came back in early 2010 and opened up a CrossFit gym. And then we ran that for several years. Then my wife's a dietitian, a wonderful dietitian. So her and I ran an online nutrition business for several years. That ultimately led us back into the corporate world after doing some traveling in Europe and things like that, where we just sort of realized we can run our business from anywhere. So we did. We put all this stuff in storage and lived in Airbnbs with our, at that time, 7-year-old. She was in first grade, and we just did virtual school and lived in Berlin and London and had a great time for several months over there. But that all sort of led to like getting back into corporate, and the corporate led to this. And then I did LinkedIn strategy. I still, with some clients, do LinkedIn strategy for people. But like a lot of people, when, not even ChatGPT 3.5, I would really say DALL-E 2 was the first thing that caught my attention. And I remember bringing it to my daughter. Now, this is several years ago. So my daughter's 14 now, so she would have been 11. I was like, look at this, like a lot of people. And then, that kind of kicked off this wonderful journey that's been the last 2.5 years. I work for a company called 𝗧𝗂𝘆 And Scaled is a sales consulting agency. I was running the LinkedIn strategy arm of Scaled, but I know this will get into your questions later, but quickly realized that this was not just a pivot. This was like, again, somehow the worlds had aligned, and it was pretty obvious to me that not only did I get AI got me. And I thought, well, here we are,
Yeah.
And so, this is clearly something I should pay attention to.
Yeah.
And then, and it's been off to the races, just like you guys. We've known each other for several years now. And that led to the show, the Daily AI Show. Like Ann said, we've been doing it for a while now. I think we just, Friday was, tomorrow will be episode 531. We just passed our 2-year anniversary of doing the show. We do it Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, live every single, always meant to be not really so much a podcast, although that is the term. It's always meant to be like a morning show. That's the way I've always envisioned it when I started it. And so that's been really wonderful. And obviously having Ann on it and guest hosting was really wonderful. So yeah, that's kind of where I am. And now, when I'm not doing that, or I'm not hanging out with you guys, I'm running multiple, consultant, projects through Scaled, and building and deploying all sorts of AI solutions across the board, primarily in the sales field. So sales teams, training them, building solutions for them. But even so, I would say more recently has expanded as it does, because we'll do maturity assessments with our clients. And then, of course, you find out, well, sales has these issues, but so does marketing, and then so it's a bit of a land and expand, because we sort of found that that's worked best. So we come in and we make a big impact one place, and then that trickles, to the next area and the next area. And so then, we've had the opportunity to work with multiple different departments and stuff like that, which is a lot of fun.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, okay. I have to ask an off-topic question, but
Sure.
just regarding a group of people showing up on camera, pretty darn well prepared every single weekday morning for over 2 years. That's remarkable. And any group of humans doing that for any amount of money or no money is remarkable.
Closer to the latter right now.
What's the secret sauce? Like, how do you guys keep doing it? What makes you different than the 99.9% of people in the world who cannot do that?
Yeah, we saw that, right? There's some statistic out there saying that, like, you're already in it's definitely in the upper 10th percentile of all YouTube channels once you pass like 1,000 subscribers, right?
Yeah.
And great, and look, I take that really seriously. We're now at like 3,500 subscribers on YouTube, and
Fantastic.
Growing fine, we're growing. Yeah. We have a really wonderful, just like 𝗲𝗲 AI, which you guys have going on with the salon, like this really wonderful group of core people come back. But really the answer, Ann, is consistency. There's just no other answer. It's like, if you set the standard, that the way I look at it, I can't speak for all my other co-hosts, but the way I've always looked at it is, it's never happened. We've come close where we thought one person would have to run the show for lack of communication. Things happen, stuck at a doctor, stuck in a car. It's never happened. We've always had 2 hosts. But my whole thing was like, well, you always prepare for the show, even if I'm not the main host, as if I had to run it and talk straight on for 45 minutes, which has never been my downfall. I could talk about but my point was, like, it's still got to be a good show. If I did a morning show and there was a snowstorm and I was the only one that showed up at the studio, well, life goes on. Get on the radio and figure it out, And so I think it's just that, like, now definitely 2 years in, like, there's not a doubt in my mind that there'll be a show 5 days this next week and the week after and the week after. I'm not always on them. That is sort of the nice part, is that we always came at it. There was originally 7 of us and now there's 6 of us. And so there's always overlap and good conversation and people, as you guys know, I don't have to tell you, the amount of work that goes on outside of producing 5 shows a week is substantial. And so we try to divide and conquer, and but like you guys, I I spend my Friday nights a lot of times writing newsletters and new shows. And Beth, quite literally, while I was in the green room, was putting together our shows for the next week. And I was creating assets for her and things that she needs in order to help us out. So yeah, it's a group effort. And the end of it, though, is, okay, what if we just agree to show up every day and everything else will figure itself out? Even more so, Carl, who you mentioned earlier, said, I don't think we'll know what our show is until 2 years. That was just something he threw out there.
Ooh, interesting.
And I like the idea that we didn't have to be.
That
you don't have to have it figured out, right? Just start. Because how are you ever going to be prepared for AI ever? You know, like there'll always be something shifting, moving, whatever. So like there is no perfect time. So when I proposed this in the AI exchange in Rachel Woods' community 2.5 years ago, I said, I'm just looking for people crazy enough in a Slack message. I'm just looking for people crazy enough, not weekly, not monthly, daily. It's the only way I'll do this. And I just, that was that. I had people who showed up, and these are still the same 6 people, are still the same people who are still going, and we're growing and doing other things. But it really does come down to just that consistency of like, it's happening one way or the other. It's happening tomorrow through Friday. So get ready, you know, be prepared.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, welcome. You are one of our guests in what we are affectionately referring to as season 0. We will start season 1 when we know a little bit more what we're doing. But season 0 right now.
We'll bring you back for season 1.
20 in or something. So.
I love that. I love that you guys are bringing your perspectives to this, and they're so valuable. I mean, like I said, I was just listening to you guys in the green room before I came on, and just listening to how you both look at it. And you know, there's 2 different perspectives, and you have a conversation and you hash it out. And that's sort of the same thing with our show. It's like, we don't presume to come on there and teach anybody anything. What we've always said is, like I said, like a morning talk show. You will listen to, if you care to, you will listen to 2 to 5 or 6 people have a conversation. And I hope that at the end of that conversation, you've figured out what matters to you or what doesn't matter to you. And if you do that enough, you'll start to make your own opinions and stuff about like how it affects you. And like, that's kind of my whole thing is like, no. You'll just like you guys come along. It's not like, let me stand on the stage and preach. It's like, come along with us. We need to learn this too. And we're more than happy to have a group of people who are interested enough to do it along with us, you know? And I love that aspect of it. It's never been about trying to put ourselves above, because it's a live show. So of course we mess up all the time on it. And, you know, I famously can't, you know, pronounce words, and now it's in my head. And Andy, who's one of our co-hosts, is phenomenal with his vocabulary, which only makes it funnier when I trip over, you know, what should be simple words. For a long time, I would mix the names Ethan Maucere and Elon Musk, and I would mix and match the first and last names.
Oh dear.
And that was stuck for a while. I would think through it, and it would still come out of my mouth the wrong way. I'd be like, I even slowed down and thought about that. I still messed it up, you know.
You still messed it up. You thought in a circle enough to come back to the original.
Yep. And still didn't. And my brain said, "You got it." And then I said it out of my mouth, and Beth went, "No."
No, keep trying.
I thought I had it that time. So yeah,
I agree. I mean, I think that the purpose of any of these sort of conversation starter shows, let's call them, that we're all participating in some way or another, is just to have people be in the conversation. It might not even be that they form an opinion that day. It's just that, I should probably go check out Midjourney again, or I should like Ann said, it's got those personalities. Maybe I should go look at those. I think it's just being in the conversation, right?
100%.
So what I'd like to do, let's shift gears, and we'll shift to our famous 3 questions, famous in our mind anyway. But these are the same 3 questions we asked all of our guests. And you teed this one up really good. You said, not only did I get AI, but it got me. I would love for you to unpack that a bit. So the question is this: what was the tipping point where you knew that you had to go all in on AI. You're like, I don't think it's going to be firefighting. I think it might be this AI thing.
Right. Yeah.
There was a tipping point where you knew you had to go all in on AI, and then what happened next, and particularly that "it got me" thing has me intrigued.
Well, I don't know about you, Ann, but the first place I saw Rachel Woods was on TikTok, and she was making TikToks, and I just thought, who is she, and how is she so ahead of this? So, and then of course you look at her background and you go, oh, okay, that makes sense. I don't want to talk about her in the past. She still does. Obviously, she's just very busy with what she's doing, but she had such a great way of explaining things.
Yes.
That just spoke to me. I thought, I don't know who Rachel is, but she seems to be talking through TikTok to me. This makes sense in my brain, like a lot of people. And then she built the community. And then her and I got to know each other, and we would have side conversations. And I think your community really is like itching for training. And she said, well, I don't know, like, look, we're trying out the thing. And then they came back and said, if I build it, will you teach it? And I was like, yeah, 100%, awesome. Because it was just sort of in my wheelhouse to do that. So I guess, prior to that, we're talking this would be early January-ish of 2023, somewhere in there. I don't know if there was like a all in, but back to that idea of AI getting me too. It really was apparent to me that this just clicked. I don't know. It just clicked for me. I've always been one, not only the teaching, but I tell stories. That's how I communicate. That's sort of like, my love language, for lack of a better term. It's how I get points across. So I get laughed, jokingly and stuff on shows. And I'll say, this reminds me of a firefighter story. And they'll be like, firefighter story, here it comes, but whatever it is, CrossFit, firefighter, or some past thing, or something that happened with my daughter or whatever. And, I work best through metaphors and analogies, and AI made sense in that realm. And I thought, okay, I've never done this before, but man, does this feel like how I would communicate, how I would write my thoughts down, how I would ask somebody else in the room, meaning the AI chatbot, to help me through this. And so it just felt so natural to immediately start having long form conversations where I felt like, oh, this is this assistant now that I can start communication even early on. Of course, I've gotten much better. So yeah, that was for me like the first sort of like, this makes sense. And man, I don't want to be behind. It's that fear of like, I do not want to miss the boat on this.
Yeah,
like, that seems like the worst idea. That's why I did the show. That's why it was like literally so that I had no excuse to be passed by. I just didn't want AI to zoom past me.
That's exactly why I started the salon and the AI Learning Lab. It was like because I was there for the early days of the World Wide Web, and I didn't think I'd see another one of these in my lifetime.
Right?
And like, holy crap, here's another one.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I saw a TikTok, and so I was born in 78, and so I saw a thing that was called, they always want to label you something, but somebody called it a zennial, and that was like literally some micro area from like 77 to 83. And but then they described what zennials were. And, one of the things they pointed out was that I just happened to be in that generation that grew up with 3 channels, but then that quickly was cable and I Want My MTV, which was then beta versus VHS, but then was quickly Nintendo and playing Super Mario Brothers, which was then quickly in college. At 96 to 2000 for me was the transition into the internet was there, but like labs at UGA where I was going to college. I hit the job market, if you will, in 2003. I was a firefighter. And so it made sense. I was like, I'm in this weird wave that's running. And it literally started in 78 by happenstance that I should have all these experiences that have culminated in a way that I always had to have conversations with strangers, just like any of us do, but like my daughter wouldn't, right? And so like, and at my first job ever was a karate instructor. I as a 14-year-old, I taught classes. And so I've been on this weird wave that seems to have placed me here. Yeah. And it was like, you just want to be open and aware to that and go, well, if not now, when? There's no other time. This is the time. And also, I'm like mid-career, let's be honest. I mean, this came out like I was 45 and 47 now. I got at least another 20 years of probably corporate life, depending on what I want to do.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like, my daughter isn't even going to get to college before this changes 3 more times again.
Yeah.
College graduation, let's just say, is 8 years away. Can any of the 3 of us?
Can you imagine? I mean,
what the job market is for her in 8 years?
Oh God.
It's
right?
insane. It's
insane.
Nuts.
It's nuts.
It's nuts.
Did I answer that first question? Did I just
You did.
Yeah,
it was
you
awesome.
did. You did.
Feel free to edit down for time.
We don't do that. That might season 2. We might get to editing.
The one thing I have to bookmark before I ask the next question is I have to just point out how many people who've been on the show have said that exact same thing about like, well, and all of that brings me to perfect time for GenAI. Like all of us who've had, we've got these storied careers where we've done a little bit of this, a little bit of that, where we used to kind of like be a little bit sheepish about talking about it.
Yeah,
like, where you're like, well, I've done a couple things, you try to form it into something that looks more palatable to boomers. And here we are now where all of a sudden it makes sense, and it's not something that it's a huge feather in our cap that we've done so many weird ass things.
I was well into my 30s before I wasn't ashamed of that. I really did feel like in my 30s I felt like I had failed because not that it was ever asked of me, but my father had been in aviation, different companies, but aviation his whole career. My brother's been with his same company 20 years now going on, and it's just the way it worked out for them. And I don't want to say I ever felt like the black sheep of the family clan or anything, but it just wasn't happening for me like that. I got out, I left at DeKalb County Fire Rescue after 5 years, and this guy Clay, who was a medic and a buddy of mine at my station, couldn't even understand why I would leave after 5 years, because in just 23 short more years I could be retired.
Exactly.
And I was like, Clay, it's 23 years now at 47. Do I wish maybe I'd stayed because I'd almost be retired? Yeah, Clay may have had a point. Like, 47-year-old Brian gets what Clay was saying. 23-year-old Brian didn't quite get it,
And missed the point. That's hilarious.
Yeah, but he, that was his point, was like, put 20, we always called it 28 in good behavior, because it was really 30, but you could have 2 years of built up sick leave mostly, which meant you could retire at 28 and get 30. And by the way, that was with 85% of your pension. That was like, it wasn't a bad deal if I had stayed 28 years, but that's just not where life, led any of us, it is what it is.
So, you have these various zones of genius that over time have layered onto one another. And here you are now doing the things that you're doing. And I'd like to hear from, you were sharing in the pre-show kind of where you're spending your time at work now, and that it's recently kind of gone gangbusters. And I'm wondering if you could share from that particular point of view, what AI trends you're paying attention to.
Yeah, for sure. So this is a crawl, walk, run type thing for me. And so I get the opportunity to teach and coach tons of sales teams on different tools, right? I've done straight up Perplexity Pro trainings for some teams. Some teams are deploying Microsoft, so we've dealt only with Copilot. I've done Gemini only trainings. And then sometimes I mix and match depending on if they're asking for a more generalized AI training. But what I really focus on is really not that much different and in those early classes. And that's that, I have a new certification program coming out for sales reps, and then also one for sales managers. And it's literally teaching reps and managers how to build their first agents. And my thought to that is, I want you to understand basic prompting and how to communicate correctly. You guys were talking on the show about GPT-5 and how that's slightly different than 4.0, and all true. But then it goes bigger than that. And so like, we still build quite a bit of what we would call assistants. That would be custom GPTs. That was our bread and butter for a really long time. I mean, I think I deployed and sent one to a client within 48 hours of it coming out, because I was like, well, this is exactly what we need, and they've gotten marginally better. The models have gotten better. Custom GPTs haven't really exactly gotten crazy better, right? Now, of course, we have gems. We have a Copilot, which would be very, very similar, almost identical. Gems are a little different. So, you know, then teaching them how to hand off a job and how to do that in a basic way through a GPT, and saying, look, you're doing this thing 3, 5, 7 times a week. That's ridiculous. Let's just get it off your plate, you know?
Yeah.
And we go for small wins, you know, because they're, you know, quick, they're easy. And it's not about boiling the ocean. It's just about like saying, hey, this is a thing that you're doing that you don't have to do anymore. Let me just show you in sometimes 48 hours how we'll just fix this forever.
Yeah.
And that has a profound impact on people. If you want to really get change management, if you want to get people on board, take something that's super annoying off their plate really fast, and then have that be the buy-in into like, okay, you see what I'm talking about? Let's move forward, you know? And then obviously, yeah, we're building a lot more automations now and getting into that for clients. And so, you know, typically that involves me building inside of N8N, but we're also building some solutions in Agentforce, which is in Salesforce. Foundry, you know, Azure Foundry, which is part of the Microsoft, Google's ADK, their agent development kit, and then also above that Vertex, and starting to build some solutions in there. So, you know, look, we're having these clients that we're having really great conversations with, and they're saying, hey, I love what you're doing. We need this, whatever, but this is where our team lives. Can you help us find solutions? Yeah, where our team lives, and you have to meet them where they are. You can't just drag them into custom GPTs if that's just not going to place that's going to get the adoption, you know? So that's a lot of what I've been focusing on, is really just building out those solutions. And really what I want to tell people, I mean, in fact, we'll have a show on it this Thursday on our show, is this idea of what I've really been focusing on is this idea of this moving, shifting sands of like what AGI might be. And what I was saying is I wrote a LinkedIn post about it, which is what gave me the idea for the show. And I simply said in the post, like, it was Saturday morning, as we're taping this. And I realized pretty quickly that I was doing multiple projects at once while also managing things in the house. It was early. I was here by myself. I was working 3 or 4 things, and I would leave and take care of the dishes. And then I set something else and I had it running in 3 or 4 different places. And then I took care of laundry, right? Or I went and got breakfast, or I went and got a snack or whatever. And I thought, oh, you know, if we're not careful, we'll wait for some poignant AGI to flash in the sky and all of us to collectively agree. And, you know, Sam Altman's been saying this and others, and I think it's true, which is that, like, yeah, in a lot of ways, though, it's already here. If you just slow down and pay attention to how you're working. You might find out that you are in fact working with elements of AGI today.
Yeah, well, I think your point's a really good one. I think there's going to be the official definition, but back to the thing about, you know, not only did I get AI got me. I feel like AGI is going to be a very personal thing, that if it is now taking things off your plate and you don't need to do more than that, whether or not we hit the official definition is irrelevant, right? For you personally, it is.
What does it mean to me?
It's above your pay grade, which great. Now you get to go do those other things and still accomplish what you need to.
100%.
Which is awesome.
Thinking,
okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I got a thing. I have to bring this up. Sorry. Along those lines, we often wonder, what's it going to be like when an agent is our boss? And people are like, no, I could never. But we already are being bossed by our AI, and we like it very, very much, right? Like, when your agent is trying to order you a pizza, and it kicks it back to you to put your credit card number in there, like, the agent is telling you what to do, and you are happy to do it.
Sure.
When, Manus is doing a big project for you and it stops and asks you questions and it doesn't proceed until you answer, you are working for the bot and you're happy to do it. I think it's like that with lots of stuff, where we're going to be looking for some big line in the sand, when in fact it's really, we're just moving through it, moving into it,
we adapt to it so
organically.
Yeah, so quickly. Yeah, that's the big thing for me, is like, just look at the last 2 years and look how quickly we have collectively adapted to things in our work lives that just didn't even exist, weren't even a possibility 2 years ago. Never mind.
Well, they were science fiction. They were science fiction.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And now we've just normalized them. Like, oh yeah, I can just do that.
Google's Storybook was the one this week. There's always something. And then my daughter, I showed it to my daughter because I created a child's book about anxiety, which is something my daughter has always had. And we created this cool little book, and it was like Lily and her fancy brain. And it was so well done after a really cool prompt. And then my daughter's like, could we create more of these books? Now, this is just a good point to this, right? A good note on this. I said, oh, you know what? The models aren't really good at like keeping the characters consistency through the models, right? I don't know why I said that, because I sat down at Storybook and I said, can you create another book but with this idea? Zero problem. Gemini pops out another book with the same character, the same parents. I mean, no issue with it. And I thought, well, there you go. Like,
this
I'm
is how
talking to
you
my
play.
daughter and be like,
This is
AI
how you
can't
do
that yet. And it can. It passed. It went right by me. And I was like, oh, that's on me for assuming that's something that I thought, because it's something Midjourney couldn't do and struggled with a while ago, that somehow, you know, Gemini's like, yeah, what do you want? 10 books? Let's talk about it. Like, let's go. Let's go. You want Lily in all the books? Let's do it. You know,
that's amazing.
So cool.
That's so cool. That's so amazing. And it, you know, it is. It's just like, don't assume that the thing you couldn't do last week, you can't do this
last week.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect setup for question number 3, which is, what does AI readiness mean to you? And then what would you say to someone just getting on this train?
Yeah, like it's go look at the things, as far as if you're just getting on the train, go look for the things that just spike your interest, whatever that is. There's so much content out there, you know, that you can go listen to buku podcasts about topics that just are interesting to you. You like college football, go find out something about how technology and AI is being used in college football, or quite literally ask ChatGPT to create you a 5-point, you know, discussion on how AIs could be influencing college football, or how to use college football to explain common AI terms, right? Whatever it is, like, go find your happy place and live in that for a while and learn it. What readiness is for me is, obviously we talk, you know, not just readiness, but, you know, AI literacy. And so what does literacy mean? Like, what do we mean by that? Well, you do need to be somewhat up on some of these terms and understanding what they mean and how they apply. So getting just a baseline understanding of basic prompt structure, and why GPT-5, why did OpenAI put out a GPT-5 optimizer? Why would they do that? Well, because it's critical for understanding how things have changed from the 4.0 model, like you were talking about, Kyle, on, you know, before I came on. And like, these tools are out there. So to me, it's just about, you know, you don't have to, there's no literal onboard for everybody. It's like, go open up the tool, like we all say, and go play. Go play with the things that are exciting to you, with the topics that are exciting to you, whatever that might be, and learn AI through that. So it's always fun to you. It's always exciting. Nobody needs to get stuck learning AI through some boring medium. Everybody can personalize it to their own way.
That's great. That's really great. Really
have fun
great.
With it, you know?
Yeah, that's it. Play first is, and you know, I feel like that imperative is there, you know, until further notice. At some point, the industry will stabilize, but that feels to me like that could be a decade out. Like, in the meantime, this thing, as it just keeps churning and evolving, you just got to keep playing. And whether you're just getting started, or, you know, we've been doing this for a while, and the experience you had with your daughter, the thing you knew it couldn't do, actually it could. Right.
Yeah.
And how do you discover that? Well, you played and you discovered it. Right.
I was at least smart enough to go, I should probably ask. I should probably ask him out of Zoom. And so that was my first thought was, go back to the AI and just double check on this. And I was like, I was waiting for it to say, yes, I can, and then fail at it. And so you can imagine the hubris of like watching Gemini not just kind of do it, but kind of crush it.
Like, kind of nail it.
Yeah. But Gemini, you know, like, it wants me to succeed, so it didn't throw it back on my face, and that's kind of nice. You know? And I was like, "This was your idea," and I was like, "Thank you, Gemini. This was my idea." You know, I was like, "We created this together," and I'm like, "Well, I'll take it. We did create this together." You know?
I think we have a new definition of AI readiness. I should probably just go ask, or I should probably just go try it. Right.
And like
No,
you said, if you assumed that
for
it was that way
real.
last week, maybe go ask again.
Yeah,
It could
exactly.
have been.
But that's a gift. That's a gift because,
It
and
is.
this is where many of us get trapped. It's like you have to be able, you have to have the skill to go, I'm going to put my ego aside right now for just 3 seconds and ask, even though I know all the things, right? Like we all know that we can't have consistent characters anymore. That's just what we know. And now we can. But you wouldn't have known if you didn't you have to put your ego aside for a sec, you know?
Yeah, or definitely with AI, right? There's no point to assuming that somehow you've grasped it. My ego gets checked daily on the Daily AI show, which you have up on the screen, and that's kind of the fun part of it. But you know what the best part of that show is? Honestly, it's when you come in with some sort of point of view, and by the end of the show, your point of view has been changed.
Oh, that's
so
great.
cool.
Yeah,
You know,
So cool.
I walked in thinking this is definitely what everybody else is going to think about this, you know, and then you leave the show and you go, not only do maybe I don't think about it that way, but I now have this new informed perspective that just wasn't there, you know, and that's like literally growing, right? That's literally neurons connecting and stuff. And I love those days where I walk away from the show and go, that was unexpected, but I'm different than I was 45 or an hour ago. And that's
awesome.
How cool is that when you're able to just like sort of identify that and go like, I'm a different person 45 minutes later.
Yeah.
So cool.
So
that's
good.
the best.
So so tell us, so you've got there's daily,
talk about
anything else you want the people to know about where they should connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, come hang out, come check out the Daily AI Show. You can find us on YouTube. We're big on YouTube. We're big on Spotify. Equally, I would say Apple Podcasts as well. Those are kind of the big areas. We are on LinkedIn, but listen, let's not get into LinkedIn. the way they do things. But we are there too. So yeah, the Daily AI Show, like I said, it's not necessarily always me. We have other wonderful people that are co-hosts. Sometimes Anna
they're great.
Helped us
they're
out
great
as well.
People.
Yeah, they're amazing, and I can't wait to see where the next 2 years goes with that show and what it looks like when we hit 1,000 episodes or whatever, you know, when we get there in 2 years. So that's super fun for me to kind of just like watch, like be part of it and watch it. So come hang out with us there, and then obviously, if you're working for companies and doesn't necessarily have to be sales, but obviously sales related, and you want to learn more about the kind of things that I'm building for our clients. For them to have success, then, 𝗂𝘆.com. And that's 𝗂𝘆.com. Not Scale, not the company that just got absorbed or whatever they got eaten by Google, but Scaled with a K. And that's the other company that is my main job. That's my 40+ hour thing that I do. The Daily AI Show is just a fun,
just a little side quest.
A
fun 20 hour a week side fun. A hobby. Just a hobby.
Just a little 20 to 30 hour a week quest.
Yeah, just a little. Just who doesn't have? Yeah.
I think we all share the burden of our side quests are bigger than everything else.
They start to become pretty big. Yeah.
Well, Brian, real pleasure.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, it was a real treat. Real treat.
Cheers.